Good evening. I'm Socrates Garrett, and we're broadcasting live from right here in Jackson, Mississippi, the heart of the Deep South, right here in the African-American-owned broadcasting studio. We believe digital.com, our own platform. And so it's critically important that in the African-American community, we control the narrative. I look forward to receiving opportunities to show and advertise your products for goods and services and to move your brand along in this community. We're broadcasting live on Facebook. When We Believe Digital Podcast, go to Roku and download our app, and We Believe Global, with shows like this to bring articulate, intelligent conversations and dialogue to our platform. So I'm here to continue sounding the alarm. This is how the South is going to rise again.
The movement involved some great and courageous people. Aaron Henry, Fannie Lou Hamer, so many people who every day took their lives in their hands to make Mississippi a better place. But they had to have lawyers likewise.
The changing of a society is a process that's glacial. Whether we like it or not, changing people's minds is an enormous undertaking.
Mississippi. It was the worst of the closed society.
There were so many things going on in Mississippi that were bad. If you could have seen the way black people were treated, it was just horrendous.
Our society is one based on the rule of law. That's how it's done in America. Lawyers were a helping role and a necessary role.
The primary responsibility of the national government was to protect fundamental rights, the rights of freedom and equality for the black people. And the national government wasn't moving.
Lawyers put real lives on the line.
I remember he was handling one case. He had received a telephone call saying, if you show up for court, we will kill you.
We must come to grips with the fact that while we are engaged in a battle to get an ultimate goal, it will take generations to do it.
Welcome. We're broadcasting live right here at We Believe Digital Studios. You know, we're broadcasting from Jackson, Mississippi, right here in the heart of the Deep South. You know, times are very, very difficult all across this country. And in Mississippi, it's no different. We have some of the worst statistics of any state in the country. And so it's important that we have shows like this to try and expose and bring out the conditions in the hopes that we'll find some solutions and that we'll be able to one day rise from the bottom of the statistics where we're last in almost everything. And truly, the South will then rise again. But in order to do that, we got to fix some things at home. You know, we got to clean some things up at home. Now, this evening, I want to focus on an issue that has been resonating throughout the country, and that is the lack of opportunity for black businesses throughout this country. In Mississippi, African-American-owned businesses get less than 2% of contracts for goods and services. In our municipal and county governments, we get less than 10% of contracts for goods and services, even though we're in a city that's 85% black. We're in a city that has African American leadership. The majority of the city council, 5 blacks out of 7 on the city council with an African American mayor. 5 black supervisors at our county board of supervisors. As yet, we get less than 10% of contracts for goods and services. And so we are in a real struggle. And the challenge today is, and the struggle is between the African American business class and the black elected officials. That's where this tug of war is. That's where the breakdown has occurred. And so we're going to do everything that we can to expose that and try to get the consciousness of the country to be elevated, to know that until we move those off of the bottom that have traditionally been kept on the bottom, that no one can be elevated. And so in order for Mississippi and Jackson to fix this problem, it's got to focus on the folk that have traditionally been left behind. We got to have policies and programs to address that. Now, one of the issues that has really highlighted the struggle and the breakdown in the African American community has been about this garbage contract in Jackson, Mississippi. And I know you're watching in New York City and in Seattle, Washington. I know you're watching all over the world to see what's going to happen here, because I'm going to give you a little chronology of what has transpired and how we got to this point. And so we need to look and go back and remember that in October, September of last year, the contract for garbage collection services in the city of Jackson had been performed by Waste Management for 35 years. And the law mandated that after 35 years that you could not renew it anymore, that you must offer an opportunity to the greater business community, and you must send out a request for proposals in order to get a competitive process back in place. State law mandated that. So the Mayor Chokwe Antar Lumumba here in Jackson, Mississippi, sent out a request for proposals. We call it the RFP, Request for a Proposal. He advertised throughout the country, and 3 vendors responded to that request. One of those vendors was a company called FCC, headquartered in Houston, Texas, and another one was Waste Management in Chicago, Illinois, headquartered there. And the third one was Richards Disposal Services out of New Orleans, Louisiana. During this process, which is traditional with an RFP, the committee that evaluated the proposals chose FCC as the best provider for the city of Jackson. The mayor then takes the recommendation from the committee and he advances that recommendation to the city council. The city council then has the responsibility to go in and evaluate the company, to evaluate the proposal, make absolutely certain that the process was done correctly and that they now have to vote on this recommendation by the mayor. The council voted down FCC twice. They voted them down the first time. The mayor brought them back up for a second vote. The council voted them down again. At this point, the contract for waste management had ended, and so the mayor declared a state of emergency, and he selected a local firm, a firm called National Waste United. He selected a local firm to go out and pick up the garbage under emergency declaration. However, the council called an emergency meeting and declared that there was no state of emergency and that the contract that the mayor had entered into with local folk in Jackson, Mississippi, all African Americans, was null and void. So the mayor then issued a cease and desist order to the African American firm that he had awarded the contract to. That firm had spent millions of dollars in procuring equipment. You know, these trucks are very, very expensive. And that firm had put on the table a performance bond of some $780,000 and a line of credit for $250 million. And so all of these things were done in preparation to be able to be a provider to pick up trash in the city of Jackson. Now, that didn't happen. So now the mayor was forced, after we went into court, the council attempted to deny the mayor's recommendation and install its own contractor into the order, which was waste management. For whatever reason, the council wanted waste management as opposed to the African-American firm. I want you to stay tuned. We'll be right back after this break.
Have you had your Earth Blend coffee today? At Earth Blend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earth Blend Coffee.
To order, visit earthblendcoffee.co now.
SGECOVIDsolutions.com is paving the way forward for a safer city government, delivering cutting-edge biosecurity and biosafety protocols developed internationally by top virologists and scientists using an all-natural cleaning solution, killing COVID-19 on contact like no other product on the international market. For more information, please call 1-800-281-9080 or visit us online at SGECOVIDsolutions.com. Let SGECOVIDsolutions.com provide innovative rapid facilities testing and world-class state-of-the-art biorisk safety protocols for all of your coronavirus needs. Call 1-800-281-9080 or visit us online at sgecovidsolutions.com.
We're back right after that commercial. We appreciate all of our sponsors to all of the programs here at We Believe Studios. You know, we are broadcasting live from Jackson, Mississippi. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Roku TV and on our own platform, WeBelieveDigital.com. It's important that we be able to get the message out and get the information out and on the subjects and topics like the one we're discussing here tonight. And that's the garbage contract debacle that is taking place right here in Jackson, Mississippi. Now, as I was saying, the council attempted to strike the mayor's recommendations for FCC and insert waste management in the order. And then the council hired independent counsel to go to court to get the authority for the court to ratify what they had done. And in the court pleadings, the court advised the council that there was a separation of powers, that only the mayor could present a provider, not the council. They could not choose a company and insert it in the order. And so, in fact, it was a coup that the council was about to take over the legislative branch with that action, right here in Jackson, Mississippi. Now, remember that Jackson, Mississippi is 85% African American, and that our council is made up of 5 African Americans and 2 whites. And those 3 African Americans, council people, along with 1 white Republican council person, attempted to put waste management in an order that was prepared and presented by them. The court struck it down. But at this time now, we're days away from garbage being piled up in the streets of Jackson. So the mayor was forced to either allow that garbage to get piled up in our streets or to negotiate a short-term contract with Waste Management. So he entered into an agreement with Waste Management for a 6-month extension while he resubmit a request for a proposal out for a permanent provider. Now, during that period of time, because FCC had been voted down twice, the mayor brought in a new attorney who specialized in contract negotiations, having worked at the state of Mississippi with the Department of Finance and Administration, etc., a new attorney that specifically focused on procurement laws. And to my chagrin, this new attorney, Attorney Martin, came up with a blind proposal process where the mayor and no one on the council would even know who was submitting until after the reviews had been made and the scores had been tallied. Now, I said to my chagrin, because what that did, while that may have said that we're going to be above being cautious and we're going to make certain that the process was one with the highest degree of integrity, it eliminated the power of the position of mayor. That influence that the mayor traditionally had always had was eliminated in this selection process in the city's attempt to be absolutely fair so that they would not get rejected by the council, whomever was the winner in the second submittal. Well, anyway, during this blind process, the committee recommended a company called Richards Disposal Services, and they were $100,000 per month less than Waste Management, the number 2 provider. $100,000 a month over the life of a contract. If you were to go back to Waste Management, Waste Management's term, they had the contract for 35 years. If Richards would have kept the contract for 35 years, he would have saved the city of Jackson $35 million. Keep that in mind. We're in the city that is 40% of the city's population lives below the poverty line. We have a proposal on the table from a firm that saves over $100,000 a month, over $1 million a year. Extrapolate that out over the potential life of the contract, and you get up to $35 million. Now, that's all very impressive. But what I haven't told you yet is that Richards Disposal Services is an African-American-owned company out of New Orleans, Louisiana, that currently have contracts picking up garbage at over 100,000 homes in New Orleans, Louisiana, and 20,000 plus homes in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And so an African-American-owned firm was the low bidder, the best provider, and those of us in the community, black businesses, even though the black business that temporarily had the contract the first time was not allowed to go forward, but those individuals were now celebrating because a black business from anywhere in the world was about to have an opportunity to pick up garbage in Jackson, Mississippi. And we realize how important that is, because if a black firm can pick up garbage in Jackson, Mississippi, it can pick it up in Tennessee, in Birmingham, in Monroe, and Shreveport, in Atlanta, and Baltimore. It would resonate in urban cities that are struggling to get minority participation up above 10%. It would give them a new weapon. If it can be done in Jackson, Mississippi, certainly it can be done in Baltimore. And we need that kind of economic push in the African American community. So the mayor submits this proposal to the council, and the council rejects it. You heard me right. Now stay tuned. We're going to go to commercial break, and we'll be right back.
SGECOVIDsolutions.com is paving the way forward for a safer city government delivering cutting-edge biosecurity and biosafety protocols developed internationally by top virologists and scientists using an all-natural cleaning solution, killing COVID-19 on contact like no other product on the international market. For more information, please call 1-800-281-9080 or visit us online at SGECOVIDsolutions.com. Let SGECOVIDsolutions.com provide innovative rapid facilities testing and world-class state-of-the-art biorisk safety protocols for all of your coronavirus needs. Call 1-800-281-9080 or visit us online at SGECOVIDsolutions.com.
Now we're back after that commercial. Again, we appreciate our sponsors. So let me get right back to where I was here. An African-American owned firm now was the low bidder with the potential to save from $10 million, and if they kept the contract for 35 years, over $35 million to a city. An African-American owned firm. But our majority black council voted Richard's disposal down. Now, this was hard for those of us in the black business community to grasp, and it was a real setback to businesses here. It established that glass ceiling. It was another nail in the coffin that says that you can't rise up in this community even if you have 35 million potential savings and got recommended by the committee in a blind bid process designed to be totally, completely fair. And if you can't get a contract approved by a black council in that environment, then you're never going to be anything. You're never going to grow a business. That the marketplace and the environment is toxic, and that African Americans ought to just stop trying. Because what's the use? If you can't win in these conditions at this time, when we have the highest crime in the country, and everybody knows that the root cause of crime is poverty. And we have the highest crime of any place in the country. We were listed as the second most dangerous cities in America, right behind St. Louis. And yet we won't take an opportunity to bring in an African-American firm as an economic engine in our community. And what do I mean by economic engine? It means that all of the auxiliary businesses should benefit that historically have not benefited. It means that all of the body work on those garbage trucks should be done by Standard Body Shop, an African-American firm right here in Jackson, Mississippi for over 35 years that's struggling today. It means all of the diesel fuel ought to be purchased from a minority supplier of diesel fuel. 12, 15 years ago, we had a minority supplier supplying diesel fuel to the BFI at that time, Republic Services of today, at the landfill. It means that the insurance on those vehicles ought to be handled by African-American insurance companies. It means that tires on those vehicles ought to be supplied by Blackstone Tires, a local distributor of tires right here in Jackson, Mississippi. It means that the employees ought to have an opportunity to grow in that company. and that black subcontractors ought to be given an opportunity to provide services and fill in the gap with richest disposal services. It meant that much to us in the business community, and yet our African American Council voted it down. They voted it down twice and then went back into court to get the courts to make the mayor allow Waste Management to continue picking up our garbage. Now, this is hurtful. Black folk, wherever you are in the world, it doesn't matter to me, wherever you are in the world, when an opportunity presents itself for you to move your race and your community forward economically, take it. It would be unheard of in a white community. You cannot even imagine that that could ever occur in a white community. If a white business had the low bid, no African American firm would be recommended over the low bidder that was white. Nowhere in the world can that happen. But it happens here in the black community time after time after time. And that's why I say that the war is raging now between African American elected officials and the black business community, because this has got to change. Martin Luther King and Medgar Evers, Vernon Daly down in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, gave their life. Fannie Lou Hamer got beat up and dogs put on them. John Lewis, all of those people, Ralph Brown, Stokely Carmichael, all of those people fought and gave their lives so that African Americans could get elected into positions so that they could move the economics back into the African American community. They didn't give their lives so you could have these jobs and live in nice houses and be called the honorable this and that. They gave you these jobs so that you could take this billion-dollar budget that's right here in Hinds County, controlled by black people, take this billion-dollar budget and put businesses and opportunities and contracts for goods and services back in your community. Over $1 billion flows through this county. And I don't see any African-American-owned trucks running the streets. There are no African-American car dealerships in Jackson, Mississippi that are substantial. I don't see any black 2-3-story buildings here. I don't see any black supplying toilet paper, ballpoint pens, or anything of that nature. No contracts for goods and services. I don't see any black contractors providing food services to our prison population, which is 90-some% African American, and yet we can't feed our own selves in the black community. Now y'all gotta help us wherever you are out there. Whoever is listening and watching this program today, y'all gotta help us down here, because we're in a situation now where never before have I been this confused, because in the Army, they would call what's happening down here that we're being killed by friendly fire. Not fire from the enemy, but fire from people that are in your own community, in your own foxhole. And that's wrong. And so now the status of this situation is that the courts and all of the judges recuse themselves, and that's another thing we got to deal with. While I realize that African Americans all know each other, but our African American judges should not recuse themselves on issues that are struggles between blacks. They ought not allow the Mississippi Supreme Court to have to appoint a white conservative judge to settle a dispute in the African American community. That's just asking white folk to take it over. Y'all make the decisions. I know it's difficult, but we put you there as a judge to be able to make that call, as tough as it is. And so Where we are now is that a white conservative judge appointed by the Mississippi Supreme Court has ruled twice. The first ruling was somewhat ambiguous, and nobody really understood exactly what he ruled, because he indicated that the mayor had the power to veto the council's rejection of Richard's disposal contract. And so the mayor then went and called a meeting and vetoed the council's rejection. Then the council says that you can't veto a no vote. And now legal scholars all over this world are struggling with, does the municipality have the authority and the ability to veto a no vote by the council? And that question has not been answered. And the question went back to the same judge here 2 days ago for him to answer the question, where he put in his footnotes that the mayor had the power. He rescinded his decision that said that the mayor could veto the vote, took that back, and then said he wasn't sure that the Mississippi Constitution may allow for the mayor to veto. So we don't know where we are. In the meantime, the mayor has instructed and authorized Richard's Disposal Services, a black man, to pick up garbage in Jackson, Mississippi. His trucks are rolling out here every day. I'm so proud of him. I see the garbage being picked up. I see black folks there. I'm standing out by my garbage can waving, just like it was the soldiers coming home from the army. Because I'm so proud to see a black man take on an obligation of that nature and perform. And there's so many dirty, low-down tricks being pulled against him at this moment, closing other landfills where he can't dump his trucks, disallowing him to pick up garbage at some homes. So ugly out here right now. But I'm so proud because Richard is picking up this garbage. But here's the dilemma. Stay with me now. Our council, predominantly black, has said that even though he's picking up this garbage, that he won't get paid because the council controls the purse. And so Richards, the better man than me, continues to pick up this garbage, even though the council is going public on the media saying they won't pay him. Now, to pick up garbage out here costs in excess of $500,000 a month in expenses. My prayers are with Mr. Richards, he and his family and his company, that he won't have to go bankrupt after having dealt with Jackson because he put out all of this money and can't get paid. We're going to continue to stay on this story, and we're going to bring you updates, at least 2 or 3 times a week, because it's important. Chicago, listen up. Waste Management, BFI, all of these companies that have been in this business for hundreds of years that dominates it and getting all of the largesse out of the African-American community have to be challenged at some point. And the time is now. Listen up in Detroit. African Americans have to pick up your own trash. Martin Luther King gave his life because of his dealings with sanitation workers in Memphis, Tennessee. Black folk gotta be able to take care of themselves. They ought to pick up their trash. They ought to run their own wastewater treatment plants. They ought to design their own roads and bridges. They ought to repair water and sewer lines. And in cities like Jackson, Mississippi, and I'm coming to a close for this show, but in cities like Jackson, Mississippi, where it's 85% African American, black businesses all over this country ought to be saying, if I could just get to Jackson, I'm going to move my company to Jackson, because down there in Jackson, there are African American leaders who want to provide an opportunity for black business to grow. Down there in Jackson, Mississippi, the black elected officials know that they have a responsibility for business development. Where there are none that exist currently, you know you have the need. Develop, recruit African American businesses to come in here. That's the kind of leadership that we're going to have. Now, we've been broadcasting live from right here in Jackson, Mississippi, from We Believe Digital Podcast Studios. Y'all stay tuned. We'll bring you updates on this continuing saga in the days ahead. Have a great evening and good night. Good evening. I'm Socrates Garrett, and we're broadcasting live from right here in Jackson, Mississippi, the heart of the Deep South, right here in the African-American-owned broadcasting studio. WeBelieveDigital.com, our own platform. And so it's critically important that in the African-American community, we control the narrative. I look forward to receiving opportunities to show and advertise your products for goods and services and to move your brand along in this community. We're broadcasting live on Facebook. When We Believe Digital Podcast, go to Roku and download our app, and We Believe Global, with shows like this to bring articulate, intelligent conversations and dialogue to our platform. So I'm here to continue sounding the alarm. This is how the South is going to rise again.